Welcome to the channel. My name is Guffy and today I will take you through my sub 20 hardcore speedrun. Now this was used on replay mod because I was ill and I didn't want to stream. So I do really like replay mod. It cuts off pauses and I was watching a lot of Grady, so I needed to pause now and again. It looks a lot cleaner than the stream quality at the time, the recording quality even. And as much as I was happy with the challenge, it's not really that important to get it verified or anything. I do have my reaction at the end. I used OBS right at the end with replay mod at the same time, but to do that throughout the whole runs and the whole reset grind and stuff, that would have been too much power for my little laptop. Unfortunately, I'm not at home with my PC. But yeah, my real PB is 1643, and that was on easy mode, not on hardcore, but it's still objectively much harder to beat a PB without like a sub 15 on easy mode is still better than a sub 20 on hardcore. This was just kind of more of a fun challenge. It's less resetting, and yeah, this village was absolutely beautiful. You can't tell from this chest, but you can kind of see that I picked up diamonds. So I got an iron pick and 3 diamonds, I believe. I also had an iron sword. So at this point I was just thinking, right, there's some sticks around. I just need to make sure that I can kill the golem and not get hit, because it is hardcore. One hit from the golem and you're dead. So at this point I'm looking for the golem. I've got a little bit of gravel from earlier. I can't remember if I picked up the flint just yet. I don't think I have yet. So I'm kind of using the gravel. I actually forget the reason I used it, but I used the gravel initially because I can mine it back down later, and then that's where I'm going to get my flint from. Here I'm just getting a tree, which is very conveniently placed for me. It's very hard to find trees and wood and sources and stuff in a village. For some reason I go all the way back here just for the crafting table because I can't be bothered to make my own, even though I got a tree. But the wood is pretty finite resource here, so I decided to go back just to use it. There's probably one nearby. I forget about the gravel which I placed, and I realize it here, but I'm like, okay, there's gravel here, so let me just use this. Don't get good flint rates, but that's something I just decide I can place down and do it in a moment. Now at this point, I think, yeah, I realize I've got enough extra gold to make a golden hoe. At this point, I think I already made gold armor, and I now have a gold shovel, so that even though the flint rates were bad, I can get through it fast. That gold shovel is like a hot knife through butter, just cleans through it all, and we have our flint. So in here I'm crafting my bucket, making sure I do that because sometimes you forget and it ruins the whole run. And I'm looking at the ocean here, and even though deserts can be pretty good for finding lava pools, I haven't seen one in sight just yet. So my instinct tells me let's go to the ocean. Here I'm just using apples. I do like keeping apples. I see a lot of runners just throw them away, but I like to keep as much food as possible in my hardcore runs. I think it's very, very important because at the end of it, if you have 0 food, you're just kind of like, oh, I wish I had anything right now, just to heal up a little bit. So yeah, we're on the boat, we're looking around, we're trying to look for an ocean ravine. But the thing is, I'm not sure if you can see it just now, but I actually noticed that there are 2 ocean monuments to kind of like in front of me and to the right of me in this direction. So the monuments were very tempting. If you don't know the strat, it's that monuments have 8 gold blocks inside a dark prismarine box. So those 8 gold blocks can be really useful because they can probably get you the pearls you need. But from doing a lot of runs, I always just find bastions are a lot more reliable because you get more than 8 blocks of gold if you're, unless it's in bad status. And you're probably more likely to get obsidian, and I also think 20 obsidian is a very important play. I am using the calculator. It won't really be possible to tell from the run itself because we're using replay mod, but you'll be able to tell when the run goes on and you'll see the motions of it. So I'm immediately spawned in Nether. It's not the quickest enter or anything, but it's a pretty solid around 4-minute enter, which means I'm on pace for sub 20 for sure. When I used to reset for sub 20s, I would go for sub 3 enters, but because I back my skills a little bit more, I allow myself to go 4 minutes, and so I don't need to reset as heavy. These were all very casual speedruns. These were all kind of like with Grady or someone on Twitch in the background, pausing, eating, drinking, doing whatever, you know, while doing these runs. So here I'm going for an ender pearl, but I don't manage to get it. but I believe there was another Enderman nearby, so they will get it. Now there's a kind of a misplay here, and you won't be able to tell from this. I wasn't able to tell at the time, but there was actually a fortress kind of within sight of the portal. So I would have had to look around a little bit and increased my FOV and my render distance and everything as far as possible. Maybe needed to squeeze the screen a bit, but I would have been able to see the spawner of the fortress. And ironically, later on in the run, we'll be at the same spawner that is actually visible from this portal. So if I ever replay this run, I kind of know exactly what to do. And I can do a pearl hang, which is an advanced strategy where you throw a pearl, but you unrender it until later on, then you re-render it. So it's basically like teleporting you when you need it. So the thing is here, I'm not thinking about pearl hangs or anything. I do see another Enderman, but then the piglin starts chasing me, so I'm thinking, okay, it's not really worth it. And I only really need one pearl. I don't need a pearl, but I wanted the pearl because it can really just help you get to the bastion a little bit quicker. If you're in a bit of danger, it can always help. So here I'm kind of like scanning with F3, then a gas shoots me, so I'm kind of like panicking a little bit, and I'm still a little bit worried about the piglin that was around, so I'm like, you know what, here's a good time to use the pearl. And yeah, just a casual gas shot there. I avoid taking the gas tier or the gunpowder, just because it might just clog up my inventory of useless stuff. And at this point here, I had realized that the bastion was in front of me. So I'm just kind of getting myself a bunch of extra blocks just in case, and I also want to use them for beds later on, making beds later on. I don't want to do anything too crazy with speed bridging or anything. Even here I'm like, should I just use a boat? Eventually I decide to jump. But I'm like, yeah, I can just get here and be calm. I'm on good pace. I think this must be around the 8-minute mark. And all I need to do is identify which bastion this is. The bastion itself is actually bridge, but I'm not sure I identified the chalice yet. Yeah, so here I don't have armor actually. I thought I did at the beginning, but I didn't have armor. This is where I grab some armor, and luckily that piglin, he looked a bit angry, but I threw that gold shovel I made earlier. Throwing the gold hoe might have been better, but at the end of the day it doesn't matter. So I break that block again because I want to come back through this way. I'm a little bit worried about the lava, so I just scoop it all up. Yeah, we play safe. I play pretty safe. Like I said, there are some things which I do which I wouldn't normally do in a real speedrun, just because it's hard mode, and I also, you know, I didn't want to keep resetting. I wanted to be able to do this challenge, so it's like when I have the opportunity, I'll take it. But I also want to make sure I don't lose it. That's also the reason I get as much gold as possible. I'm being shot here, but the shots aren't too much damage, and I do have a decent bit of food from the village, so it's all good. Here I'm just crafting, and then there were a couple pigs here and there. They weren't all aggroed. Some of them were making sounds at the time, but they weren't all aggro. Now here I make sure that they can't reach me, and then I make just a 2x1 hole so that they can all go in. I use a chest, I break it, I aggro. A little bit risky, but at the same time, like I said, we're going to take risks here. Only problem is, I didn't really get many pigs here. I think I only got 2 or 3, I'm not even sure. So I'll break another gold block. Now the advantage of hard mode in terms of piglins is that more should be aggressive. They should be more aggressive, they should want to jump down from further heights, they should want to like try and come at you. But here they're not really doing that. So I'm hearing lots of angry piglin sounds, but I'm kind of like, well, where are they? So I go down in this section. I don't think I've done this too well here because I only managed to get like 1 more to come. I put down some gilded blackstone that also does make them more aggressive, but for some reason it doesn't really bring up more than 1. I think I didn't do the pathfinding very well. I didn't make the staircase wide enough. So I'm just kind of throwing gold hoping I don't get hit. And luckily I didn't, because 2 hits from a piglin can just kill you straight away. So I'm just kind of eating. At this point, I'm just throwing out anything which I know I don't really need. The gilded blackstone, I didn't think I needed, but what you'll see here is I'm trading and I'm realizing it's a little bit slow. So I'm like, wait, there are so many pigs out here, and that's probably where the noise was coming from earlier. So let me just staircase this once now. I use a chest because I have no gold, and that makes them aggro. And I kind of get away with not getting hit here. Like, there's genuinely a chance. You see this pig running at me and I'm thinking, oh god, the run's going to be over here. But no, it's fine. This little useless guy is in the way. I didn't want to waste wood, but then because I used only 2 basalt, this guy comes and I'm like, oh, I don't want him to steal gold, so... And in the end, I just ended up using the wood, just blocking them off. I can always get more, but I think I had enough anyway. And at this point, you'll see me shifting, because this is the movement of using F3 and the pie chart to detect where the fortress is, based on the lag that is emitted from the mob spawner. Now, it's a very advanced strat, and I can talk about it more in the comments or something. But basically, because the mob spawner from the blaze that the fortress has is something that can be shown and found, and it's based on render distance, that's something I'm looking at. It's quite advanced, it's not something that's in Bedrock or anything. I think a lot of speedrunners by now know it. Pretty much every speedrunner by now knows it, but a lot of people just who watch them will know what I'm talking about. But I've identified that the fortress is pretty close, and I will say that as soon as I spawned into the nether, I did do the same trick just to check if there was anything nearby, and it did tell me at the beginning it was very close. So not only do I know the fact that it's I don't know, west from here or something, I knew it was just general direction. I also knew it's kind of past where I spawned. At that moment I took a little bit of fall damage, but here I'm just spamming pearls. The pigs probably had so many trades that I just wasn't even able to pick a ball. So I'm just checking this side and I'm like, is it this direction? I throw a pearl again because it was too hard to tell. But around here I've spotted it. Around here I've spotted it and I've realized I just need to maneuver my way up there. I almost thought I was close enough to get there in less than 1 pearl. But here we go. We're throwing pearl and we're in the lava. Lovely to see. A lot of the time, if you watch me regularly, you'll know I do end up living in the lava for half of my speedruns and my streams. However, this time I had fire res, I popped it on just before, and the fortress is closer and closer and closer, and with that pearl, we are just about there. I'm still eating because each time I'm pearling I'm taking a little bit of damage. And I could pearl here, and I do pearl here, because why would I waste time pearling when I can just do this? Now I block off a little bit away, because I've had it before where a skeleton will just, with a skeleton, or skeleton will just drop down on you. I'm not really safe from skeletons, they are the worst mob in the game to me. But here I'm looking around for the spawner and I've already found it. So I'm kind of happy. This is a random misplaced block, because I like to offhand my blocks, which is kind of a bad habit, but it's just kind of what I'm used to, and I use it to my advantage where I can. And I'm also just healing a little bit after all those pearlings again. And here I'm just, you can see I'm sorting out the wool in my inventory so I can make some beds. Now when it comes to blaze bedding, I'm kind of not the best, so I kind of just default to this one each time. There's definitely better ways to do it, but when I was looking at the kind of terrain up there, I don't want to do a high bed. Now I hit this guy once, and he's kind of off the edge now. So the idea with blaze bedding, if you don't know, is you're wanting to increase the surface area so that more mobs can kind of spawn in this. So first of all, we're going to remove the blocks around, which are unspawnable. And here I'm still sorting out my inventory a little bit and stuff, because I'm like, okay, I've done one blaze bed and it's going to do a little bit of help, and I don't mind if more spawn on me. But the next process of this is to like kind of expand the area so that there's going to be more spawnable spaces. So see where there's like a fence right now? That I need to get rid of, because they're not going to be able to spawn where there's a fence. So I want to get rid of that. If there's fire, I want to get rid of it. Light will stop spawns, I think, because that's how most of the time when you see a mob spawner in survival, you're like, oh, let me just get rid of the light sources. Or let me give some light sources so it stops. So yeah. And another thing I'm doing is I'm trying to consider where's the best place to build my portal. So I'm looking at my coordinates with F3, and that there, like, I've identified the direction, and here I do a pearl hang. So you'll be wondering, why have I thrown the pearl but it's not landing or anything right now? It's because I went into the pause menu, I made my render distance 2, and I made it so that that pearl will literally be frozen in midair. Now I remember that this blaze earlier was the one I hit off, and that was my 7th rod. So I'm very comfortable with 7 rods, especially because I'm using a calculator. This was not comfortable, I almost died to that very badly thrown pearl because I just wasn't thinking. So at this point I am starting to, I don't want to say I'm shaking, but I'm definitely starting to wiggle a little bit, you know? So making my portal, I've got more than 20 obsidian. So the thing is, I didn't actually need to make this portal in these coordinates. I knew they were better coordinates, but I could have made them at the spawner and calculated my way to get to the stronghold. And in a sense, that may have saved me time. But I do find that when I'm closer to the stronghold, I'm more accurate. And this was a very good blind. You can't tell from all the pausing and etc. Because of the way replay mod works, which I'm glad, because it's just a lot of pausing really. But basically, with these two, I've got a very 99.7% very accurate reading that I should be hitting the stronghold if I make a second portal. And it says like 300 blocks away. And I have so many pearls that I was thinking, oh, I don't need to make the second portal, I could use pearls. But I remembered the other day I was on pace to beat the dragon sub 20. I actually ended up in the end at 17 minutes, so I was very much on pace. And making a second portal definitely would have saved time, even though it was only a 250 block blind. Which is, it seems like kind of crazy in a way when you think like with pearls, you get that, you know, you cover that time a lot. You cover that distance very quickly. But the thing is, you're wasting food by doing that, which is just essential. You gotta heal up, you're at risk of dying. But you also are gonna find the stronghold, which is very different to here, where I am going to be teleported inside the stronghold from a portal. Now I break it because I want to use preemptive strats, but the thing is, I didn't actually hit the starter. It was 99.7% sure, not 100% sure, and anyway, you can never really be 100% sure, even though the calculator tells you so. So I'm glad I'm in the stronghold, and I think this is around the 15-minute mark, so I'm still saying to myself, it's calm, I just need to nav around a little bit and try and find my way to starter, but also look around these rooms. I am kind of going in circles a bit, because I've kind of looked around this way and I'm like, well, I don't see a way to go back to starter. These doors, when they're like outies, that means that they're heading towards starter. But this one is a trapped one, so it's a dead end, even though it's supposedly going towards starter. So this one goes away, but at this point I was hearing the silverfish and the lava. So I was like, let me go. I go in my inventory because I didn't want to use soul sand on the lava. I may have had fire res still from just before the portal. I'm pretty sure I used it. But I still just didn't want to be in soul sand and be set on fire and then, you know, just never trust it. So I took the hit from the silverfish. It's fine. Basalt in the middle. Perfect play. And at this point, I know all I need is a decent dragon perch. We're about 17 minutes something in. All I need is a decent dragon perch, and I need to set up my obsidian in the middle so that once the dragon perches, I'm ready for it. Now the other day, I was 19 minutes. Dragon perched. I had a ton of beds, but I had a crossbow in my offhand. So when I was using my beds, the crossbow took over, tried to shoot the dragon, which does nothing, and I wasn't able to actually get the beds off. And this was like tragic, so I couldn't get the sub 20. So I was thinking about that, I was shaking, I was like, yeah, I am not using a crossbow this time. I am hoping that the dragon this time is just quicker and just does the thing. Just does the wiggle in the middle, just does the perch. You know, I'm shaking, dragon, why don't you shake with me? Get in the middle, get your dragon, head, give me bed, and then you're dead. So throw the pearl, now, and it's a decent pearl, I'm in the middle. I've got about 5 beds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4.5 beds. That's all I need. And the whole time, I'm hearing Endermen screaming. I think they're celebrating for me that I've beaten the dragon, their enemy. But I'm also just like, if they touch me, I'm dead. So I'm just going to block myself in basalt. And here I'm doing /seed and /datapack list to, even though it's not like a verifiable run, just to prove it's a legit run. If you have any doubts, you can talk to me about it on my Twitch, or you can talk to me about it like, I don't know, anytime you want. It's obviously a legit run, but it's not a run I cared about enough to go on OBS and record and everything. It is just a solid run. I'm very proud of it. Hardcore. My reaction will be in the description, and I uploaded that the other day. Yeah. So shout out to Grady for being very inspiring. I was really not into speedruns for a bit, I was really thinking like, I can't be bothered to do this anymore. It's too much resetting. But he kind of gave me a new perspective of things, and this challenge, you know, it was really useful. People like Lexab also doing hardcore. It was really, really useful. I watched so many hardcore streamers. Like I watched Taneesha, Philza, I used to watch all the time, etc. I've gone into this on another video, so I'm going to more. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed this perspective. It was a very, very fun challenge. I don't think I'll go for sub 15 hardcore or anything. I'll go for a sub 15 regular first of all. I think that's hard enough. I think at that top level it starts to become more and more similar because you're really just relying on not getting hit and no wasting food. But anyway, this has been me, Guffy. This has been a very fun video to make and a very fun challenge to have. I hope you enjoyed, and consider finding me on socials like Discord to hang out with me offline, talk to me a bit more, and on my streams as well. I would love that. Thank you very much. Bye.